Joseph was the favorite son of his father, Jacob, because he was born to him in his old age. To show his love, Jacob gave Joseph a beautiful, colorful coat. However, Joseph's older brothers became jealous. Joseph had two dreams that made things worse. In the first dream, he and his brothers were bundling grain, and his brother's bundles bowed down to his bundle. In the second dream, the sun, moon, and 11 stars bowed to him, symbolizing that even his father and mother would honor him. His brothers hated him for these dreams and for being their father's favorite. One day, when Joseph went to check on them in the fields, they plotted against him. They threw him into a pit and planned to leave him to die. But later, they sold him to Midianite traders for 20 pieces of silver. To cover up their crime, they dipped his coat in goat's blood and told their father that a wild animal had killed him. Jacob mourned deeply, believing his son was dead. The traders took Joseph to Egypt, where he was sold to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh. God was with Joseph, and he succeeded in everything he did. Potiphar saw this and made Joseph his most trusted servant, in charge of his entire household. However, Potiphar's wife took notice of Joseph and tried to seduce him. Joseph refused, saying, "How could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" One day she grabbed his robe, and Joseph ran away, leaving his robe behind. Furious, she lied and accused Joseph of trying to assault her. Potiphar believed her and threw Joseph into prison. Even in prison, God was with Joseph. The prison warden trusted him and put him in charge of the other prisoners. One day, Pharaoh's chief cupbearer and chief baker were imprisoned and had strange dreams. The cupbearer's dream: a vine with 3 branches grew and ripened into grapes, which he squeezed into Pharaoh's cup. Joseph's interpretation: in 3 days, the cupbearer would be restored to his position. The baker's dream: he had 3 baskets of bread on his head, but birds ate from them. Joseph's interpretation: in 3 days, Pharaoh would execute the baker. 3 days later, both interpretations came true. Joseph asked the cupbearer to remember him, but he forgot. 2 years later, Pharaoh had 2 troubling dreams. 7 fat cows came out of the Nile, but 7 thin cows ate them. 7 healthy ears of grain grew, but 7 thin, scorched ears swallowed them. None of Pharaoh's magicians or wise men could interpret the dreams. Then the cupbearer remembered Joseph. Joseph was brought before Pharaoh and said, "I cannot interpret dreams, but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires." Joseph explained, "The 7 good cows and grain meant 7 years of plenty. The 7 thin cows and grain meant 7 years of famine." He advised Pharaoh to store grain during the good years to survive the famine. Pharaoh was amazed and made Joseph ruler over all of Egypt, second only to Pharaoh himself. Joseph was given fine clothes, a gold chain, and the royal signet ring. He became governor of Egypt at the age of 30. The famine spread across the land, including Canaan, where Joseph's family lived. Jacob sent his sons, except Benjamin, to Egypt to buy grain. Joseph recognized them, but they didn't know him. He tested them, accusing them of being spies and keeping Simeon as a prisoner until they returned with Benjamin. When they brought Benjamin, Joseph saw that his brothers had changed. He set up one final test by hiding his silver cup in Benjamin's sack. When the brothers were accused of stealing, Judah offered to take Benjamin's place as a slave. Seeing their repentance and love for their father, Joseph revealed himself, saying, "I am Joseph, your brother. What you meant for evil, God meant for good." He forgave them and invited them to live in Egypt. Joseph's brothers returned home and told Jacob that Joseph was alive. Jacob and his entire family moved to Egypt, where they were given the land of Goshen. Joseph was reunited with his father, and they wept together. Before Jacob died, he blessed his sons, and Joseph promised to care for his family. After Jacob's death, the brothers feared Joseph would take revenge. But Joseph reassured them, "Do not be afraid. You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to save many lives." Joseph lived to be 110 years old and saw his great-grandchildren. Before he died, he told his family, "God will surely come to your aid and bring you back to the land he promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." He made them promise to take his bones back to Canaan, which they did when the Israelites left Egypt under Moses. God's plans always prevail. Even when things seem bad, God is in control. Forgiveness brings healing. Joseph forgave his brothers, showing the power of mercy. Faithfulness leads to promotion. Joseph was faithful in every stage of life, and God elevated him. God uses our trials for good. What others mean for harm, God can turn into blessings.